I'm wanting help or suggestions for what I can do to help my husband who has experienced severe trauma and he's refusing any kind of help or medication.
Oh, man. Tell me about it.
So he grew up in a country that at the time was under the control of a radical terrorist organization.
Oh, man.
And because of that, he has PTSD. He definitely has some OCD traits from the PTSD, and he's dealing with depression. And logically, medication or therapy would help, but because of his survivor's guilt and also because where he grew up, they had like a morality police that required that you report on anyone for anything. And kind of because of that, no one was ever comfortable telling any information about themselves to anyone. So it forced everyone to become like islands, to be completely isolated.
Yep.
And it's just like this block. You know, logically, he knows if he goes and talks to a doctor, he's not going to be sent to jail. But
that story's in his nervous system, man.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a. I mean, because for the average listener, my experiences of sitting down and talking with some of these survivors is they've seen madhouse violence and or been required to participate. They've experienced sexual abuse of unimaginable depravity.
Right, and he himself. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
Interrupting. He himself has survived multiple kidnapping attempts because where he lived, they particularly wanted young boys, and he survived multiple kidnapping attempts himself, and so he does have the severe trauma.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I have found to be helpful, one of the only things actually that I found to be helpful, is some advice that you've given on how to help a partner who has survived severe sexual trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's hard because there's a certain reality, a certain framework that I need to work in. I know no matter what, he will not go and get help. I can shout it all day, but it's not going to happen. And it's hard because it's not coming from a place of he's just being difficult.
No, it's survival.
Coming from panic.
Yeah. But can you go get help?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I go to therapy. I go get medications. I really try to work on myself because I have my own traumas and issues. And I think that's one of the reasons why we work well together is because I understand, I have a slight insight into some of these things.
Okay. I bet your insight is less slight than you. I think you're being very compassionate for the hell that he endured and lived through. Okay. Here's what I found to be helpful. Okay. And I don't know if he ever would, but I would love to talk to him. And if he doesn't want to talk to me on the show, I would even be willing to set up something offline. Okay. I don't know if he's a fan of the show or anything, or if he's ever listened to this show, but if not, no big deal. So here's a couple of just big rocks, okay? The 3 words, I believe you, combined with physical touch is a very powerful salve, okay?
Right.
So when somebody's spinning out, when somebody's frustrated, when somebody's angst, when somebody's having a panic attack, when somebody's anxious, when somebody's like, I don't want to, just simply putting your hand on their arm, holding skin on skin is what you think, SOS, skin on skin, and the words, I believe you. I don't know how or why, but it tends to make the human body go, whew, okay? The second one, and this is, most people don't think about this. The second one is deep and powerful and very strong boundaries with somebody who has experienced abuse.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is you've experienced unimaginable abuse. You've seen things that no person should ever see, much less a child, or experience. And you don't get to be abusive in this house. You don't get to scream. You don't get to hit things. You don't get to punch holes in the wall. You don't get to just disappear for 5 days. You don't get to do that because you looked at me and said, I do. And what I've found over the years, it's not 100%, but what I found is what somebody who struggles with childhood trauma like this, those type of boundaries are unfathomably life-giving because finally they get to anchor into something.
Right. And I think for him, it's almost the opposite. And this sounds horrible to say, but I think in some ways it would be easier if he did scream or punch the wall or do something because
he holds it all.
It's like the exact opposite because where he was, if you showed any emotion, it could lead to problems.
So what behavior, what's prompting this call? Because here's the other thing. There's kind of this, and I'm glad it's finally getting some press and some attention right now, but not everybody grieves in the same way. And it might be that you're doing all of this work and you're doing talk therapy and you're taking medication and you're feeling great and the light has come on and you see him and you think, man, his light's on and he's being a present husband and he's showing up and it's pretty amazing that given the journey he's made. But I think the light could be even brighter. So you need to talk more and you need to go so is there some behaviors, some pathologies that you're seeing that you are scared of or see him hurting himself, or it's bringing electricity into your home? What are you concerned about?
Well, he has a very hard time. He's 33. Okay. And he has a very hard time relating to people his age here in the U.S. And, that's not that he's not friendly, but it's just that he can't relate. There's no point of commonality. So all of his right. And so all of his friends, actually, it's kind of funny. All of his friends are like the older veterans who work at Walmart. He goes every morning and he talks to all the older war veterans because they've seen a lot of the same things. But kind of what really facilitated this call was, he's very good friends with all the old ladies in the neighborhood. It's adorable. And he was very good friends. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
He's very good friends with the woman across the street. And he so very rarely makes a human connection, outside of me. I think it's really important that he has friends outside of me.
There you go.
Has a support structure. He was very good friends with our neighbor across the street, and she took her life.
Oh, man.
And his reaction absolutely broke my heart because he walked in and he was like, Beth, so-and-so killed herself. I wish she didn't do that. I wish she had called me. And it was just totally a flat affect, completely flat.
Yeah.
And I love him so much. And my heart breaks because he has this well of sadness that I cannot touch. And I want him to have this joy. And he has this mindset. And I understand why, this mindset of just nihilistic.
Yeah. I mean, he's seen it. I've heard this over and over and over and over again from, folks, it's just hard to hang out with a 27-year-old U.S. person sometimes when you've grown up in madness. When they're just like, oh my gosh, can you believe that Trader Joe's is not? And you're like, dude, right this second overseas, there's a little boy hiding because some guys are trying to kidnap him right? I mean, it's hard to even... It doesn't surprise me at all that he's made connections with folks with way more wisdom who have been overseas, who've seen what the human condition can do. And it doesn't surprise me that his body took over to take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
That affect, that is just a body that goes inside of itself, right? Or that's a spirit locking itself inside a skin, because it has to. But that's where the thing that draws somebody out of that is, and you are right on, is connectivity. And that's the words, I believe you, and skin-to-skin contact.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's a process. and it takes a long time. I don't know that he'll ever not. His body will never not have that as a default setting.
Right.
It was too important. I have a hypothesis that has no evidence to it, except that I ask every single long-term veteran that I meet, all of them. I ask them the same question, and I've never had somebody tell me no. I wonder if, because I know that the data on the human body's ability to metabolize trauma, it's astonishing what people can go through and will go through, and the lives they can lead on the back end. Especially when you look at Nazi camp survivors and how they went and they just only few remaining people from different families created new communities together because they had to, right?
Right.
People can overcome, but they have to have other people. And I have to wonder if the mad spike in PTSD comes from somebody who sees things that nobody should see, experiences things, but they also do it in a context with a family. Because if you're surviving kidnapping, that means you have family members that are with you, right?
Right.
They did this thing together, and veterans do that. They train together, and they've got a group of men and women that will lay down and die for them. And then they get out of the service, they get unhooked, or as your husband leaves, comes to the States, marries an amazing woman who loves him more than life itself. And you get that survivor's guilt. You get that unplugged feeling. It's hard to have a friend. You got a friend that will die for you and that helps hide you when there's guys trying to kidnap you. And then your neighbor's like, man, did you see the prices at Whole Foods? It's hard to ever reconnect.
Right. And right now, unfortunately, his parents are in a place that is better than it was. But, we're worried, about them getting bombed.
Of course.
But I do kind of think, and I mean, I don't even know if this is silly, but part of me thinks if I could force him to join a bowling league or something, something where we were forced to interact with a group of people who maybe are in a slightly older age demographic, to, you're saying, to form some kind of community.
Right.
Because unfortunately,
I want to switch it. I don't want to do any forcing. I think he's been forced enough. But I do want to invite.
Okay.
And so, very few husbands, there's some scumbags out there, but very few husbands, if their wife holds their hand and says, this really matters to me, I want to join this particular thing, it would make me feel loved, and it would make me feel safe if you came with me every Wednesday night to go bowling. What?
Right.
I know you don't like to talk to people. I know. This is not for you. It's not for them. This is for me. Would you do this for me?
Mm-hmm.
And that's an invitation. When this comes out, I'll already be a month in. I am starting ballroom or whatever dance lessons this month, right? And it's because my wife has said, I want to do things with you. I've always wanted to dance. Dude, I can't dance to save my life. I don't want to dance in front of other people. I have a public-facing job, so it's going to be even more embarrassing. I'm clumsy, all those things. It's not about me. It's not about them. It's about when I told my wife, hey, I got you dance lessons for Christmas, her smile lit up the sun, right? And so I don't want to force him. You have to do this or else, because then you become one of them.
Right.
And he doesn't need that. He needs you to be with him. But you inviting him, I need you to be with me on this one. And it might not be bowling, but it might be, we have to do something together outside of this house with other people. I'll let you speak into it, but I want to invite you to be a part of it. And you have to be prepared for, he might tell you no. And then the boundary is, you're going to go anyway.
Right.
I'm going to go anyway.
Without him, if he said no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because what we're going to do now is we're going to model what peace looks like.
Okay.
We're going to model
that makes sense.
Because here's what he needs to feel. He doesn't need to come home to his house and feel like he's not grieving right. And often loving partners, myself included, tell our partners, well, you need to be grieving like this. You need to go see a counselor. You need to go do this. You need to go take medication. You need to go start an exercise program. And what it ends up doing is, I've got pain and I'm not even doing my pain right. And so instead
Mm-hmm.
of it's the curiosity over the judgment. Instead of saying like you need to be doing this, this, and this, it is would you do this with me?
Okay.
And
Yeah,
what we
that
want him to feel is your nervous system tick down about 50 beats, and there's no beats in a nervous system. I just made that up. But it's when he feels with you that then he's like, I want that. I want more. His body will naturally want more of that.
right. That makes a lot of sense. I never thought of that because you're right. A big thing for him is he doesn't want to be micromanaged anymore because, he lived under a regime where like they told you couldn't wear shorts,
That's right. That's right. He's done with that, as he should be. But going back to the boundaries thing, that doesn't mean he didn't look a woman in the eye and say, I do till death do us part. And you get to say, hey, as a part of loving me, here's what I need and here's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't get to be responsibility free. And that's where those boundaries are really important for people who have suffered unimaginable abuse. Is it's such a rudderless, the thing that trauma, especially sexual trauma and violent trauma does is it cuts the oxygen. The thing that keeps a human being alive is other people. And violence, abject violence, especially when you're a child, and sexual violence, it makes the person, another person, electric. It makes them like an electric fence. It makes them poison. And the problem is we have to have other people to survive. And so
Right.
a boundary in a strange way creates safety. It creates a bridge back to a person. Because right now he's rudderless. I mean, he's clipped. He's a balloon that somebody cut the string and he's just floating out in space.
Right. Because I think what's hard is he just doesn't know what to do.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
And so, but what he did agree to is loving you.
Absolutely.
And so we're not going to preach at him. We're just going to invite him to walk with you. And you have to be able to breathe through the days he says, I can't go today. Cool, I'm going to go. Because he might go 2 days or 3 days, and then the old nervous system kicks up because he hasn't slept well, because work is stressful, because he had a whole bunch of pizza who knows. But for some reason, the switch is flipped on. It's not a good week. Cool, I'm not going to judge you. But when I get back, I'm going to tell you how much fun we had. And I hope you'll come next time.
Mm-hmm.
My wife did this for me for years with church. I just got to a place where I had a lot of baggage with church and I didn't go. And I never felt a sense of you're less than or you're a terrible person. I did feel guilt because she got up and went all the time. And eventually I started going, not with a good spirit or a good heart about it, but I didn't want to be the guy whose wife went to church by herself. And then I started going. And then I went with my walls up, but I kept going. And then I went as the wall started coming down a little bit. And then an awesome minister asked me to help with a thing. Would you teach a class? And then all of a sudden, like, you get what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that the behavior is the language. It's the action. Will you love me this way? Will you come to the bowling league with me? Right? Or I want to start having people over to the house. So every Wednesday night, we're going to have people over. And it would really, you're the best whatever cook I know. Will you make this? Or you're a terrible cook. Please don't cook anything. Right? Like whatever the thing is. Right?
Yeah.
But let's focus less on forcing. He's been forced enough.
Right.
Let's do the inviting that we can do. And you are right. Pointing him back with all arrows at some shape, form, or fashion to connection. And at this point, honestly, I wouldn't judge his connection. If he's connecting with older folks, that's amazing. Great. Okay.
Right. Because definitely my goal is I want to support him the best that I can. And, if that means like he hangs out with a bunch of, 70-year-olds, because that's great.
But invite him over. Because sometimes people will hang out with 70-year-olds because it's safe and it's surface.
Mm-hmm.
But you as his partner, his person who loves him, can say, cool, hold my beer. They're coming over here. And we're going to learn how to play bridge. I just assume that's a game they teach you how to play when you're 70. But like, we're playing bridge, we're playing dominoes, and it's going to be like game on here at the house, and we're in it, we're going to play. And you can't have these arm length friends. Or you can say, like, I don't know about these 70-year-old women hanging out with my husband, so I want to meet them. I'm putting my eyes on them. I don't trust them, right? And you can be funny about it. But you're going to have these friends, amazing, but I want them to come over. And slowly, with you by his side, it pierces that inner bubble he's created in his home. Because here's the other side of this that we don't often like to talk about. You're trapped inside there too. When you know you're his only source of human connection, of oxygen, it makes it hard for you to leave, right? And so it's a both and thing. But I want to say this. He won the cosmic lottery meeting you. Thank you for loving him like you do, for caring about him, for doing your own work. And I'd love to talk to him if he ever wants to call in. I'd love, love, love to hear a story and just sit with him. Thank you so much for the call, Beth. It means the world. Your trust and your bravery. Thank you so much. And thank you for giving us a picture of what loving well looks like. Very few of us are married to somebody who's been through hell like that, but we all have partners who struggle. And you're a picture of what love looks like.